Hey, and welcome to today's video where we gonna talk about the best side characters in anime. I hope you enjoy the video and please subscribe to the channel. Karma Akabane. Karma is well known throughout the school for his violent behavior and troublesome attitude. He is quite cunning, mischievous, and somewhat sadistic, usually playing foul, tricking, and at times manipulating, humiliating and fighting others. He has been described by Karasuma as at first glance. He comes across as being a lazy sort, but there's a strong sense of mischief in his eyes, and Itona has described him to have certain vision to Terasaka. Karma is quite relaxed most of the time as he occasionally skips out on things he finds boring, such as the school assembly. However, he has become considerably more hard-working at studying after the embarrassing exam arc, although he hides it by making it look like he was playing video games. Unexpectedly, Karma is a fan of superhero movies, like Sonic Ninja. Despite his somewhat sadistic nature, Karma actually has good values behind his motives and can be quite empathetic. The reason he was placed in Class E was that he had rescued a senior from Class E being bullied by students from the main building. He is, unlike his former classmates, unprejudiced against Class E. He believes each and every one of them have their own special talents and will defend them, especially against Class A. When he was in the main building, due to the betrayal of his most trusted homeroom teacher, Karma began to hate all people who called themselves teachers, and as a result, he had almost zero respect for any adults. However, Karma has become more objective after meeting Koro-sensei, now respecting more of his opponents and teachers' strengths and weaknesses. Karma has shown to be more than capable of respecting and caring for other people, as he greatly cares for Nagisa, who seems to be his friend, and has grown attached to his classmates and others. He is best friends with Nagisa. He gets along with Okuda and Nakamura, often teases Terasaka, and respects Asano Gakushu and sees him as his intellectual rival. He also forms a bond with Koro-sensei, breaking down crying when he died. However, Karma also tends to be quite impulsive, to the point of becoming truly brutal and cruel when fighting with people who threaten him or any of his friends from Class E. Gojo Satoru. Satoru is a complex individual. He is normally seen to be nonchalant and playful towards his students, close colleagues, and friends. However, he is unsympathetic and cruel towards sorcerer executives, an example being his blatant disrespect towards Principal Gakuganji and his enemies. Satoru is extremely confident in his abilities and reputation as a powerful sorcerer, believing himself to be invincible. His opinion of others often only go as far as his judgment of their strength, and he is quite apathetic towards anyone he deems weak. Additionally, greatly influenced by his own desire for power, he is very arrogant. He is convinced that he is the strongest in the world, which he technically is, claiming, during his fight with Toji Fushiguro, that throughout the heavens and earth, he alone is the honored one. This can be further exemplified when he was tasked with protecting Riko Amanai, one of the few weak people he genuinely grew to show compassion for. However, any empathy of her death was soon negated by his extensive amount of pride and arrogance after perfecting his reverse curse technique in his following battle against Toji Fushiguro. During intense battles, Satoru is seen to occasionally fall into a frenzied fighting state, urged by his determination for victory and undeniable proof that he alone is the strongest. His combative style is characterized by his aggressive and domineering attacks, while flaunting his mastered techniques to his opponents. Furthermore, in a crisis, he is capable of being cold-blooded. He will prioritize his enemy's destruction over saving innocent people when he believes that the sacrifice is unavoidable. However, this only extends to the people killed by his opponent. He will not do any lasting harm to or kill anyone innocent to gain the upper hand. Nevertheless, despite his haughtiness and strength, Satoru is more human than he first appears. After defeating Toji, Satoru retrieved Riko's corpse with a sorrowful look, showing that albeit his recent conceded victory temporarily clouding his feelings, he still felt some grief over her death. He sought to kill the star religious members that were laughing over Riko's death, though was stopped by Suguru Gato, who he relied on as a moral compass at that time before taking any action. Furthermore, Satoru was later left visibly horrified and panicked after learning that Suguru, his one and only best friend, had become a murderous curse user. Satoru attempted to reason with his friend, but eventually realized and accepted that he lost the one person he truly saw as an equal. After having to put an end to Suguru before more calamity arose, it was Satoru's trauma over losing his best friend that caused his ultimate downfall in Shibuya. He was also distraught when Yuji seemingly died, Satoru's endgame is to reform the Jujutsu world from the bottom up through education. He seeks to foster a new generation of sorcerers that he hopes will one day become his equals. Killua Zoldyck. Initially, Killua is introduced as a character who seems similar to Gon, cheeky, cheerful, and full of mischievous ideas. He is also one of the most quick-thinking characters in the series. He is confident in his own abilities, often being humble about it. But when somebody compliments him, especially Gon, he gets easily embarrassed. Killua is also known for having a sweet tooth, as he spent almost 200 million Jenny on snacks when he was at the Heavens Arena. His favorite snack is chocolate, specifically the chocolate balls. However, his ruthlessness and aptitude in killing shows the other side. Deadly, violent, and bloodthirsty. Having been tortured since birth, Killua has been conditioned to possess extreme tolerance for poison, electricity, and pain. He possesses extraordinary agility and strength that makes Killua a one-man killing machine, definitely not one to be trifled with. Conflicting with Killua's predisposal to kill is his unyielding loyalty to his friends and natural kindness. Killua often suffers immensely in his attempts to help his friends without a single complaint. He puts others before himself without being concerned about his own health or even his life. Until recently, Killua's greatest flaw was his fear of those seemingly more powerful than him, one of whom being his elder brother, Illumi. Killua had been trained as an assassin by his brother to be extremely cautious, that he only engages in combat provided that victory is absolutely certain. This impeded him as a hunter, as Biscuit stated more than once that victory is never certain, and that depending on the circumstances, a person has the potential to defeat a stronger opponent. Killua especially struggles with these dueling ideologies during the latter half of the series, as he begins to encounter stronger opponents. His brother's teachings remained firmly entrenched in his mind, to a point at which Biscuit prophesied that he would one day abandon Gon because of this. Biscuit gave Killua an ultimatum: defeat Shu to claim the right to go with Gon and fight the Chimera Ants. Killua lost, and resolved to leave after Gon had recovered from his fight, protecting him in the meantime. Finally, he had to face Biscuit's prophecy when he encountered a Chimera Ant, while Gon, who could not use Nen at the time, was not far off and had no way to defend himself. Killua made an attempt to save Gon. While fighting with the Chimera Ant, Killua was also battling his inner self. Preoccupied, Killua was losing to the Chimera Ant. At the last moment, Killua realized that Illumi had implanted a needle in his brain way back in the first Hunter exam. This needle was responsible for forcing Killua to retreat and jailing himself in his comfort zone whenever any situation would potentially endanger his life. Upon extracting the needle, Killua was freed from this restraint and gained full control of his subconscious to make his own decision whether or not to flee whenever there is a need to fight stronger opponents. Zoro. Zoro has a stern, serious, and distant personality, but unlike Robin, he often reacts in a goofy and exaggerated comic style due to his short-tempered and impatient attitude. On the ship, he normally either trains with weights or sleeps. The only work he is seen doing regularly is hoisting the ANC, the anchor, using his great strength and maintaining a lookout in the ship's crow's nest, which on the Thousand Sunny ship also doubles as his personal gym. He also likes sake, almost to the degree that Luffy likes meat, but like Nami, he never gets drunk due to his inhumanly high endurance and tolerance for alcohol. Another notable trait is his lack of orientation, as Zoro often gets lost, even in small, familiar spaces or when being led by someone. Despite this, he is often the first to sense an enemy or danger and the first to react. He is often displayed as being well aware of dangerous situations and the people around him. Zoro often reminds others of the harsh facts, which shocks some of the other crew members, although they usually decide he is right. Zoro is an atheist because he stated that he does not pray to any god, could not care one way or the other, and has never believed in anything except himself. Even so, Zoro knows that he still has much untapped potential and is constantly seen training and improving his fighting skills. He also adheres to a strict sword master's code of honor and never falsely brags or lies about his abilities, sometimes outright admitting a weakness, even to an enemy. He also never tries to escape from a fight or use trickery to win, believing that doing so is cowardly and scorning anyone who uses such tactics. Zoro is vigorous, strong-willed, and determined. Tsunade's most notable trait is her blunt and short-tempered attitude, never afraid to point out the flaws in people with rather sharp manners. This is incremented by her brute force, which she uses to intimidate people she sees herself arguing with, and her habit of being a heavy drinker. Inherited from her grandfather, Tsunade has a vice for gambling but notoriously terrible at it, and her bad luck has earned her the title of the legendary sucker, Densetsu no Kamo. Despite his, Tsunade is very aware of her bad luck, and often turns into her favor by betting on events she doesn't want to happen so her unluckiness will prevent them from coming to fruition. When Hashirama learns that Tsunade is the fifth Hokage, he instantly worries about what misfortunes she might have brought upon Village 13. When Naoaki and Dan passed away, she lost motivation and the idea of achieving her goals turned to be an empty dream, especially despising the role of Hokage. But after meeting Naruto Uzumaki, Tsunade reconsiders her ideals and learns that only because a dream seems impossible to achieve, it doesn't mean it's actually impossible, and it continues to live on even if the dreamer dies. She puts her faith in Naruto, who is a shadow of Dan and Naoaki, and overcomes her fear of blood to protect his life. The dream continues to live inside Tsunade, who becomes Konohagaku's fifth Hokage and makes her goal to protect the village with her life, just as Naoaki and Dan desired. She also decided to pave the way for Naruto when he achieves his own goal. Tsunade shared the will of fire with Konoha's villagers and continued to encourage the dreams of those who had a purpose, like Rock Lee's desire to become a ninja despite his injuries 14, or congratulating Shikamaru Nara after returning safely to the village with her teammates after a gruesome mission to retrieve Sasuke Uchiha 15. She also sees a glimpse of herself in Sakura Haruno, who asks her to be her apprentice to protect what mattered the most for her 11. Despite Jiraiya's advances over the years, Tsunade is still faithful to Dan even decades after his death. Even if Tsunade never reciprocated Jiraiya's feelings, it only motivated him to keep trying, and often served him as material to write Ika Ika Paradise. Jiraiya concluded that he wasn't one for happy endings, but Tsunade found it difficult to trust his words and told him that he didn't need to put on a brave face when he returned from his mission in Amagakure. When he died in that mission, Tsunade silently wept for his loss. During the war, she despised the idea to have Dan and Naoaki reincarnated because she understood that it would contradict everything they stood for.